Hey guys, this week we are beginning to talk about speed, distance, and time. We're going to talk about how you calculate or how you know speed, distance, and time. So, as we were talking about force and motion the past couple of weeks, we've talked about how different things like friction and gravity and the mass affect the distance that something would go, or how easy or hard it is to make something move. All right. So this week we're going to take that further and actually get that exact calculation for speed, distance, and time. So just as a review, let's think about minutes and decimals, also like fraction. Okay. So 15 minutes is 25 hundredths of an hour, or 1/4 of an hour. So when I think about a clock, and you think about how a clock can be divided into 4 equal parts, those that like the circle, and you cut it into 4 equal sections, each one is 15 minutes, which is 1/4 of an hour. 15, 30, 45, 60. So 3 hours and 15 minutes you're going to see as 3 and 25 hundredths hours. 30 minutes is 1/2 of an hour, and 45 minutes is 75 hundredths, or 3/4 of an hour. So there are 3 formulas for speed, time, and distance, and you guys have this in your notes, and we can write any of this in your journal that you think would be helpful for you. So if we're solving for speed, which is something we do often, we don't really think about it probably, but when you're in a car and the car is going 55, always, we don't usually say I'm going 55, we say I'm going 55 miles per hour. 55 miles is your distance, and your time is in hours. That's why we're saying that you are actually doing a science formula and a math formula when you're calculating speed. Even when you just say 55 miles per hour, each hour in 1 hour, that is helping you solve for speed. If you were wanting to solve for the time, like how long, you would take your distance and divide it by the speed. To solve for your distance, you would take your speed and multiply it by your time. So if you use this triangle, that's very helpful. And if we look at it again, speed, here's your S, is distance divided by time. Kind of reminds me of a fraction, and we know a fraction is a division problem. Time is distance divided by speed. Again, you got the distance on top of it. Distance divided by speed. And then distance is speed times your time. So these two would multiply to give you that one. So that triangle is super helpful for us to use and remember whenever we're trying to solve for speed, time, and distance. So make sure you have that written down in DST. And that should be a good reminder for you. Okay, so let's start looking at a few examples. A windsurfer traveled 28 kilometers or kilometers in 1 hour and 45 minutes. Let's calculate his speed. Remember, speed. So think about the car again. Distance divided by time. Miles per hour. In this case, it's kilometers per hour, because we have kilometers, an hour, and minutes. Okay. So remember, we're looking for the speed. We're taking our distance, which was 28, and we are dividing that by our time. Now, we wouldn't say 145 or 1.45. Remember, 45 hundredths is not what we're saying. We're saying it's 75 hundredths because it's 3/4 of the hour. And if we were to divide this, 28 divided by 1 75/100, we're going to get 16. His speed is 16 kilometers per hour. We know how to divide decimals. We've been dividing decimals. A lot of times when you are given tests, EOG tests, they are going to give you a calculator. But if they do not, we know how to divide these. And so you'd be just fine. Okay, let's try another one. This one you can do in your head. Again, we're looking for speed. Distance divided by time. Look at your triangle. Distance divided by time is going to give you that speed. 25 divided by 10. We probably know that in our mind. We have divided and multiplied. We have divided and multiplied by tens, 100, 1,000, our powers of 10. So 25 divided by 10 would be 2 5/10. And all we did was calculated 25 divided by 10. Next, we're missing speed. We have our distance and our time. Again, 15 kilometers divided by 8 minutes. So if you were to calculate that, and it's totally fine for you to have a calculator while we're talking about this during this PowerPoint, your answer is going to be 1 875,000ths. But remember, that's kilometers per minute, because this was in minutes this time. So make sure that you are calling it as it is, kilometers per minute. In our car, we say miles per hour. Okay, let's try some more. What is the speed, still looking for speed, of a car that traveled 150 miles in 2 5/10 hours? I'm going to put that in my calculator. 150 miles divided by 2 5/10 hours. And that means that car was going 60 miles per hour. Because all I needed to do was divide 150 and 2 5/10. So knowing your formula is our job this week. Knowing how to calculate speed, distance, and time. Again, we're looking for speed. I'm going to give you a second to think about this one. Again, we're dividing distance and time. These are meters, and you have 20 seconds. So we're saying 39 meters divided by 20 seconds, and we get 1 95/100 meters per second. Went almost 2 meters per second, which makes sense, because if this had been 40, then it would be exactly 2. Still looking for speed. Distance is 235 meters. Y'all try to calculate it. And 120 seconds. Put that in your calculator. All right, now if you have your calculator, you are getting a really big decimal. My decimal is 1.958333333. Okay, sometimes we need to round our answer because we're just trying to get, as close as we can. So depending on what your answers may ask you to do, most of the time we're rounding to hundreds, like money, $1.95. In this case, it's 958, so that 8's going to make that 5 go up to a 6, because 58 is closer to 60 than it is 50. So 1 96/100 would be a good answer for that. All right, if a train travels 1,500 meters, 1,500 meters, in 250 seconds, how fast is it traveling? That is still meaning the speed. So if we have 1,500 meters divided by our time of 250 seconds. That is going 6 meters per second. All right. This one is talking a little different. Now we're trying to solve for distance. A salesman traveled at an average speed of 50 kilometers per hour for 2 hours and 30 minutes. How far did he travel? So we know how fast and how long. We want to know how far. We want to know our distance. We can do this pretty easily. 50 kilometers, whatever you like to say. 2 hours and 30 minutes we know is going to be 2 5/10 because that's half of an hour. And we're going to get 125 kilometers. Okay, so now let's you try. We know our speed. We know our time. We're going 12 meters per second. And we did that in 15 seconds. So we're going to multiply 15 times 12. Some of y'all might know that. It's 180, like it said. Now let's look at this one. In this case, we're looking for our time. So to calculate time, we divide distance and speed. So if a train traveled 555 miles at 60 miles per hour, how long did the journey take? You would divide those two, and it gives you 9 25/100ths, which we know is a fourth, and a fourth of an hour would be 15 minutes. Here we have 251 miles, and we went 70 miles per hour. So if we divide those, because again, you're looking for time, divide distance and speed, it gives you another really long decimal. But if we round those, we can get 58, and really I would probably say 59 hundredths. All right. So guys, I just wanted to review a couple of these with you. We will continue doing that this week. Our main focus that I want you to practice and study is the formulas for speed, time, and distance, as we saw here on this slide, as you should have in your notes. Use those to help you while you're calculating and finding these values.